Greetings and welcome back to the Protecting Veil YouTube channel. I was grateful for a second opportunity to speak with acclaimed Orthodox Christian cultural critic, novelist, gentleman farmer, and essayist Paul Kingsnorth. This interview in many ways acts as a bridge between this channel and the new channel I just launched. Speaking of which, if you haven't already checked out the new channel, please do so now by clicking here. As you may know, Paul talks a lot about our contemporary machine culture and the influence of technology on our lives. My new channel is called You Are Not a Machine, and I will be addressing similar topics there. I'm going to release half of this interview on this channel and the other half on the new channel, so please subscribe to both. There are links below this video where you can do that. So without further ado, here is part of my latest interview with Paul Kingsnorth.
Good to see you again, Paul.
Yeah, you too. It's been a
Thanks
while.
thanks for agreeing to sit down. It has been, I guess, a couple years.
It probably has. Time flies.
Yeah. So speaking of which, I think if I'm right in thinking you're coming up on 3 years at Theophany, is that right?
3 years in a few weeks' time. 3 years baptized. Yes.
Thanks to God.
Yeah, it's been quite a trip.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about. So I'm looking forward to hearing more. I pick up things here and there from your different interviews that you do, but there are always things that I want to kind of go more deeply into. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to do that. So one of the big things is, what are some of the most kind of important things that you've learned in the last 3 years, in particular since becoming Orthodox, about yourself and maybe about Orthodoxy? How's your life changed?
Yeah, those are the big questions, aren't they? I'll just give you some instant answers. Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? I mean, well, you know as well. This is a journey, and it was, for me, it was an unexpected journey. I didn't expect to become a Christian. I know that's probably true of a lot of people. But once you get started on the kind of the spiritual path, things just open up in front of you. My friend Martin Shaw, who also is an Orthodox Christian, he's a friend of mine. We've known each other for a long time, and he's a storyteller and another former sort of eco-pagan-y type like I used to be. I was talking to him about this recently, and he said it's like he said this journey is like being lowered slowly every day about a centimetre at a time into the mind of Christ. And I thought that was, he said it's like being lowered down a mine shaft into this darkness, and it is like that, you know. It feels like, it's funny when you look at a religious journey from the outside. Certainly this is what I used to look at it as anyway. It looks like a collection of moral teachings that you're supposed to adhere to. And obviously there are moral teachings in Christianity, but it's not really, that's not the point. It's not a moral code. It's a means of transformation. And certainly the Orthodox journey for me, it's continues to be a journey in which I'm just kind of opened up and exposed to myself and changed. And as I'm changed, the world looks different. And this is very difficult to explain, because in one sense, obviously, it's the same world it was before, and I'm the same person I was before, but subtly, it doesn't seem the same. You know, when you have God at the center of it, and when you have this entirely different spiritual perspective, it looks different. And that's not an intellectual claim. It's not a sort of intellectual difference because you've read a lot of books and you've decided to believe a different thing. It's that it subtly seems to change sort of shape and color. And as I say, it's difficult to explain, and it might sound mad to someone who hasn't done it, but that's what's going on for me. And it's been going on for a few years, obviously, as you say, and will hopefully keep going on and deepening until I become a holy saint, which I'm hoping will happen in the next 3 years. Possibly not. So that's what's going on. Yeah,
it's good to have a goal.
Well, exactly. Good to have an ambition.
Yeah, and to have people that have gone before us to show the way and inspire us. Yeah, there's a quote. I can't recall. I didn't even know if it's in a book of his or if I just picked it up at the monastery in Essex. But I remember hearing or reading somewhere that Saint Sophrony had said, gosh, maybe it's in Saint Silouan the Athonite, that God doesn't know the right hand know what the left hand's doing in the spiritual kind of life, and so that a person doesn't maybe become proud of their spiritual growth and so on, and so there is definitely this hidden thing that's happening, and even if you maybe are tempted to look at it, if one is wise, then one doesn't, and just continues to think that one's the worst of all sinners. And
yeah, I think if you stop thinking that, it probably stops happening. That's
exactly
the key.
Yeah.
So, exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the other thing about it. The more that you're sort of opened up to yourself, the more you realize what a mess you are in. You just see yourself as a human being and you think, oh Lord, if I thought I was wise or advanced in any way, that I'm not. And that's, like you say, it's all part of the process. It's not a sense of, it's not that you're debasing yourself for no reason. It's just that you have to strip yourself back and see that. You have to see that you can't go anywhere without God's help. That's kind of the key. It took me a while to work that out. I think, you can't do this on your own. It's not an act of will. It's a collaboration.
Yeah, well, and it also becomes a source of, I think, if one is honest, a great deal of peace, because you see, like, I'm beginning to see reality now. At least there's some hope that I can get somewhere better than where I'm at, because until you see it, one of I don't know if you've come across, one of the Desert Fathers says, it's a greater thing for a person to see their own sins than to raise the dead.
Yeah. It feels harder.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. It's like you say. I mean, my journey, like a lot of people's journey, I suppose it brings us here, is I spent much of my life looking for what the truth was. This is very common, especially in the modern world. Maybe it's always been common. And cycling through politics and activism and philosophy and reading huge amounts of things and dipping into different traditions. And yes, it really is only since I got here that I have been able to sit back and achieve some sort of measure of peace. Exactly that. And I just think, oh, okay, this is how it works. Here we are. I think I see it now. And also the notion of just putting yourself in God's hands is extremely relaxing. Because it doesn't remove your own obligations as a human being, but it just means that you're not really in control, and you shouldn't try to be in control. And there's something very much bigger going on, which we're never going to understand with our tiny little minds. And so you just have to let that come. And that is very peaceful. And it's one of the things that strikes me about the modern world, especially the modern West. We're extremely manic, and we're very neurotic, and we're desperate to change the world and save the world, and we can see all the problems. And of course, you can't do that beyond a certain point. And so it just drives you a bit mad, which I think is one of the things that's happening to us. If you could see all the interconnected problems of the world, from war to climate change to whatever, and of course you can't solve them, you're either going to try and come up with a giant political scheme to solve them, which will lead to tyranny, or you're just going to end up a sort of Nietzschean nihilist. Those are kind of the two options, in my experience. This is the third way, as Tony Blair would have put it, but a much better kind. This is where you stand back and say, actually, reality's a different shape. It's not all about us. We might not be at the center of things, and then everything feels different.
Hello again. I hope you enjoyed this installment from my interview with Paul Kingsnorth. Again, please subscribe to the new channel and to this channel to be notified when new installments become available. Links below this video, and I will see you soon.